What is up, guys, and welcome to my super awesome CD collection video. I know it took ages, but I thought might as well do it in 2025 if it's going to take me so long, rather than doing it in December 2024. But yeah, this video is going to feature every single CD that I have in my collection as of January 2025. There are a lot of CDs in my collection, so I'm going to try go as quick as I can, but I know that this video is still going to be very long anyway. Before we start, you guys can check out my cassette and vinyl collection on my channel if you are interested in that. And yeah, aside from that, my favorite genres are hip-hop and EDM, electronic dance music, but you will see a whole bunch of stuff in this video. Alright, anyway, starting us off, to kick off the entire CD collection, going in no particular order, we have Kid Cudi, Man on the Moon. Personally, my favorite Kid Cudi album. Absolutely amazing. It is in my top 10 favorite albums of all time. Next up, we have Liquid Swords. Absolutely amazing. Also happens to be in my top 10 hip-hop albums of all time, so really good album right there. Next up, we have Best of DJ Shadow, Reconstructed. This is a sort of like compilation album, I suppose, with a whole bunch of like really cool songs on here by DJ Shadow. I do love his music quite a lot. Next up, absolute banger, we have Kanye West, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Another one of my favorite albums of all time. Definitely in my top 3. So yeah, absolutely amazing. I've talked about it a lot on my channel. Coming up next, we have Donda by Kanye West. Here it is. Obviously just a pitch black CD, but really long album, but also a really good album. I've made a video for the CD, cassette, and vinyl of Donda on my channel you guys can check out. So yeah, it is pretty cool. Next up, we have David Guetta, Nothing But The Beat. This has the vocal and electronic album. One of my absolute favorite EDM albums ever. So good, love David Guetta. He's still very successful to this day, which is good to see. Next up, we have Timbaland, Shock Value 2. I know a lot of people prefer the original Shock Value, but to be honest, I think I prefer Shock Value 2, just because it does really go in more of a, electronic direction. Some people may say pop, but I still think it's kind of hip-hop slash electronic, maybe electro pop, who knows, but yeah, I do also have Shock Value 1 and really love that album anyway. So yeah, next up we've got Eminem, Curtain Call, the hits, all of Eminem's greatest tracks up to 2004/2005. Absolutely amazing, such a great CD. This is a compilation though, it doesn't really count as an album. Coming up next, we do have Rage Against the Machine, their self-titled album. Probably my favorite alternative slash rock, whatever you want to call Rage, album ever. So good, perfect, 10 out of 10 actually in my eyes. So yeah, nice switch up there. Next up we have Daytona by Pusha T. Fantastic album. I do also consider this a 10 out of 10, so really cool. Do really love Daytona. Next up we have Kanye West, 808s and Heartbreak Japan release. So really cool version of the CD right here. You can check out my videos on my channel for the cool Japan CDs. Next up we have Shady Records presents mixtape CD, the DJ Green Lantern mixtape. Pretty cool, somewhat rare. Next up we have Justin Timberlake, Justified. Pretty great album. Obviously I love the songs where Timbaland produced them. Did Timbaland produce all of these songs? I don't know, actually. That's a good question, whether he was the executive producer on this, but yeah, Timbaland and Justin Timberlake are a menacing duo. Absolute bangers when they get together to make tracks. Coming up next, we have Encore by Eminem. Yep, this is definitely not the last of Eminem. You will see a lot more, so Encore, I still consider it a good album, despite a lot of people not liking it. Next up, we have Brat by Charlie XCX. One of my favorite albums of 2024 for sure. Great CD. Next up, we have a soundtrack CD actually. This is Victorious 2.0. Did grow up with this show, and the songs were always bangers. Just good throwback music and always nostalgia and memories attached to that. Next up, we got Eminem, Curtain Call 2. Another greatest hits album. Definitely nowhere near as good as the original, but is what it is. Next up, we have a custom CD over here, which is Yandi by Kanye West, which is, yeah, absolutely amazing. Sucks that this was never released, but is what it is. We do have a lot of amazing tracks on here that could have been just hits, man. That's all I can say. So yeah, coming up next, we have Daft Punk Homework. Daft Punk is my favorite artist of all time, with very close other artists being Eminem, Dr. Dre, Pusha T, Kanye West, but Daft Punk will always be my favorite artist, and this album is a 10. Next up, we've got Eminem Marshall Mathers LP, a very loved album by the Eminem community, absolutely amazing. Next up, we do have the Japanese Graduation CD by Kanye. Fantastic Kanye album, banger, probably a 9 out of 10 for me. Yeah, does hit hard. Coming up next, we do have Pusha T, Fear of God 2, Let Us Pray. A pretty underrated project, not perfect, but still pretty strong. Maybe a 7 or 8 out of 10 for me. I do love Pusha T a lot, one of my favorite rappers of all time. Coming up next, we have one of my favorite albums of all time, Outkast ATLiens. Production, rapping, delivery, everything. Perfection on this thing. Absolutely amazing. Coming up next, we do have A Tribe Called Quest, Beats, Rhymes, and Life. Tribe Called Quest is the only other artist apart from Daft Punk that I consider to have a completely perfect discography, which means no bad songs, no bad albums, just perfection all around. And yeah, literally only these two artists right here are the ones that deserve that title for me, so pretty cool. Coming up next, we do have a bit of a different album over here. This is the Club of Gore Sunset Mission. Pretty cool, just sort of jazz album right here. Very underrated, and yeah, just cool to pop this on. One of my friends told me that it kind of sounds like detective music, and ever since we've just kind of been using it whenever we're, you know, conversating in the car or, you know, being detectives for whatever reason. So that was kind of funny, and it's a good memory attached to that album right there. Next up, another custom CD, The Life of Pablo, Kanye West. Great album. What can I say? Absolutely amazing. More Kanye. We've got the regular Graduation, not the Japanese one. However, this is also an enhanced custom CD. So originally Graduation was released as a digipack, but yeah, this is just an enhanced one with some, you know, some better quality, and you also have Good Night on this CD as well, the track. So pretty cool. Here is Timbaland, Shock Value, the original. Still fantastic. This one does have a bonus disc. It is the deluxe, I guess, but yeah, so many great tracks on here. Very underrated hip-hop album. I definitely suggest you guys give it a chance. Next up, we have Eminem, The Eminem Show, the expanded edition. Pretty cool. I'm yet to do a video on this one, I believe. I might soon. But yeah, The Eminem Show itself is one of my favorite albums of all time. Expanded edition does have some pretty cool bonus stuff, so yeah. Next up, we've got Eminem Relapse with Refill as well. One of my favorite hip-hop albums ever. My second favorite Eminem album ever. Right after The Eminem Show, of course. Amazing, underrated horrorcore album right here. Next up, we've got David Guetta, One Love. Definitely not as strong as Nothing But The Beat, in my opinion, but still an amazing album with some great tracks on here. Yep. Next up, we've got Logic, Vinyl Days. To be honest, the only Logic album I really listen to is this album. Sometimes College Park, sometimes, you know, some of the older ones, but this will forever be my favorite Logic album. Not exactly a huge Logic fan, but I do love that album in particular. So yeah. Next up, we've got this Raw 2012 compilation kind of thing. This is a great CD, one of my oldest ones, just sort of a compilation thing. I do have a few of those, not too many, but yeah. Next up, we've got the Black Eyed Peas Elefunk. This is when the Black Eyed Peas were definitely more sort of like, you know, hip-hop centric, rather than their, you know, electro-pop direction they went in 2010, but still really do love Elefunk a lot. Next up, we got 808s and Heartbreak, Kanye West, just the regular jewel case CD. Amazing. We'll just put it right here, actually. That looks a bit more fitting. Next up, we've got A Tribe Called Quest, The Low End Theory. My personal favorite Tribe album. But I do always debate on whether I like this one or People's Instinctive Travels more, but I think at the end of the day, this is always the one I recommend to people more, so Yeah, still absolutely amazing. Next up, we've got Crystal Castles 2 over here, their second self-titled album. This is absolutely amazing. I think I do prefer the original a little bit more, but this is definitely their most popular album with the fans. But if you ask me, I do think I like Crystal Castles 1 a little bit more. But yeah, that could be an unpopular opinion. Anyway, next up, we've got Example, Playing in the Shadows. Another EDM album with some pretty great hits on here, actually. Really cool. Next up, we've got Justin Bieber, My World 2.0. The only Justin Bieber project I will ever listen to and ever get myself to like. This is definitely one of my guilty pleasures, I'm not gonna lie. I do quite like Justin Bieber when he made music, like, I'm trying to not word this weirdly, when he was younger, but you know what I'm trying to say. When he made music at a younger age, I thought his music was a lot better. Definitely more my style. But yeah. Next up, we've got Planet Pit by Pitbull. Such a random album to have. I'm not sure why there's that sample product not for sale thing. This definitely was for sale. But yeah, such a random album. I do love Pitbull quite a lot though. Next up, we have Dr. Dre 2001. Actually, my favorite album of all time. So there's a fun fact for you guys. This is not only my favorite hip-hop album, but just any genre of music ever. My favorite album of all time. Has the greatest collection of instrumentals, a perfect and extensive track list. What can I say? It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Next up, we've got The Eminem Show. Just the regular one right there. Next up, we've got Kanye West Late Registration. Really cool. Do like this album quite a lot, actually. Has grown on me as I've listened to it more. Next up, we've got Jay-Z, The Blueprint. Absolutely amazing, like classic hip-hop album. What can I say? Next up, we do have this Justin Bieber, My World's Australian Edition CD. I'm not sure how I ended up with two, but is what it is. This one is definitely the better version, in my opinion. Or is it? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Actually, maybe this one is the better version, isn't it? Are they the same thing? Yeah, no. Definitely this one is the better one. Not that it matters too much, but yeah, don't hate me for liking that album. Just the guilty pleasure. Next up, we've got the Black Eyed Peas, The End. I absolutely love this album. I know it's one of the most hated albums ever, but I absolutely love it. I've got to be honest. It's so good in my opinion, and yeah, I do really love this album. It's my favorite Black Eyed Peas album. And I don't know, I just love it. I know it does get a lot of hate for the the simple lyrics and the beats that haven't aged the best, and the throwback music era just hasn't aged the best, but there's another, I suppose, guilty pleasure. As well as I have Black Eyed Peas at the beginning. Definitely hated a lot more than The End, but I still also do really love this album. Look at those tracks, look at these tracks also. Look at these tracks, man. Look at these tracks. Do you see these first 5 tracks? All radio smash hits, all absolutely amazing nostalgic songs for me personally, and this is the deluxe 2 CD version. It does feature those first 5 tracks actually from The End, so yeah. Next up, we have Snoop Dogg Doggy Style, one of my favorite hip-hop albums ever. Classic. This will forever be Snoop Dogg's best project. Yeah, he's too old to try top this now. I mean, he tried with Missionary, but obviously this is 15 million trillion billion times better than Missionary. So, yeah. Next up, we have Daft Punk Discovery, my second favorite album of all time, right after Dr. Dre 2001. And this is my favorite Daft Punk album, of course. Amazing. If you guys haven't heard this thing, listen to it. If you do like this album a lot, you may like Black Eyed Peas The End. Because honestly, a lot of the songs on here are like trying to be this so bad. But yeah, Daft Punk Discovery, absolutely amazing. Next up, we've got Yeezus by Kanye West. One of my favorite Kanye albums, for sure. Really cool. I do love Yeezus quite a lot. And it's cool to see how a lot of people are also starting to show some love for the project. So yeah, that's amazing. Next up, the only Jack Harlow project I actually like. Come Home, the Kids Miss You. Not a big Jack Harlow fan, but for some reason, I just love this album. I have no idea why, but this album for me is just honestly fantastic. I know that's another unpopular opinion and people do quite hate that project, but what can I say? I do like it. Next up, we have the legends themselves, the Neptunes, and this is their compilation project, the Neptunes Present. Clones, which is basically a whole bunch of tracks they produced or were involved with. And yeah, it's so good. This is just like a greatest hits type album, but literally every song was produced by the Neptunes, and that just means it's going to be absolutely banging. Love Pharrell, love Chad Hugo, love the Neptunes. Yeah. Next up, we have Outkast Aquemini. Banger. What can I say? I do like ATLiens a bit more than this, but still, a lot of amazing tracks on here. What can I say? The verse that Raekwon delivered on Skewered on the Barbie is absolutely insane. That's just the most memorable part of that project for me. Next up, we have another copy of Jay-Z, The Blueprint. This one is not fully blue. This one is, not sure. It's the same music and everything, but not sure why the jewel case is different. Next up, we have Introducing, DJ Shadow. Great album. Absolutely love this thing. Yeah, I would say, you know, for all time that this would be one of my favorites up there. Definitely top 20 at minimum. So yeah. Next up, I know, a bit troll, but we have I, Soulja Boy, Tell 'Em, which is just this Soulja Boy. I got this for $1, and I was like, I mean, why not? It has Crank That, it has Kiss Me Through the Phone, it has, you know, just why not? I just thought I'd pick it up if it's $1. Probably could have spent that dollar a bit more wisely, but what can I say? Next up, we have Logic, College Park. To be honest, I don't really mess with this album a whole lot. I don't know how I really ended up with a copy of it. Vinyl Day is definitely way better. I think the skits on this thing are so corny. Just, yeah, but there is some good tracks on there, like Red Pill, absolutely amazing, but not really sure how I ended up with that CD in my collection. Next up, we have Pusha T, It's Almost Dry, 10 out of 10. I don't know why people say that this isn't, you know, on level or almost as good as at least with Daytona. In my opinion, it is. Obviously, half produced by Kanye West, half of it's produced by Pharrell. How can you go wrong? And then Pusha T, the absolute god, is rapping over it. Yeah. Next up, we have this Now I Live Real Christian Church. If anyone can give me any information on what the heck this thing is, or what group put it out, I know it tells me a little bit down here, 2006, somewhere in, I believe, Victoria in Australia. I believe in Victoria that this thing came out, but I cannot find any documentation of this online. I got this for $1 secondhand at a store, but yeah, if anyone can try help me research, find what that thing is, I have no idea. Next up, we have Tribe Called Quest, Midnight Marauders. Banger, classic, 10 out of 10, perfection. If that is your favorite Tribe album, don't blame you, but personally, it is the low end theory for me. Next up, we have Daft Punk Alive 1997. Underrated, a little bit overhated. It's still really good. I know it doesn't compare to 2007 at all, but still, I do find myself enjoying Alive 1997 a lot. Next up, we've got Dr. Dre The Chronic. Speaking of classics, this is an absolute classic. What can I say? The Chronic 2, you know, being Dr. Dre 2001, is my favorite album ever. So I do also appreciate the original Chronic as well so much. Yeah, it's fantastic. Next up, we've got Lady Gaga, The Fame. Lady Gaga, one of my favorite female artists of all time. So yeah, really cool. Next up, we've got LMFAO, Sorry for Party Rocking. Another one of my guilty pleasures. I absolutely love LMFAO. I grew up with them. And if you look to the left, you'll actually see I have a signed autographed poster from Red Foon Sky Blue. But yeah, I'm sure there's other people out there who still bump LMFAO to this day, unironically. So yeah. Next up, we've got Street Love by Lloyd. Nice R&B album over here. A lot of amazing tracks, especially track 2 right there, which is You with Lil Wayne. Favorite track of the album, but I do like Killing Me and Take You Home as well. Great album right there. Next up, we've got Clips presents the Re-Up Gang. Super underrated straight hip-hop album right here. Absolutely love this thing. If it is getting a little bit darker, that's because it's kind of sunset right now. Let me go put on a lamp. Alright, that's better. Sorry, that was a bit random. Anyway, next up we've got Eminem Infinite. This is a House of Wax release, as this album was never released on CD. So this is a custom, of course. I still have it sealed, actually. Haven't opened it to this day. But yeah, still pretty valuable despite being custom. You'll find that a lot with the older Eminem stuff. Next up, we've got Redfoo and Dre Kroon, Balance Beam. If you didn't know, one half of LMFAO, Redfoo, used to make boom bap hip hop music, like straight up underground hip hop. Can you believe that? That's absolutely crazy to me. And he did this in partnership with his buddy Dre Kroon back in the day, who provided some really smooth vocals. But yes, super underrated project. I definitely suggest you guys check this thing out. And yeah, if you're not a big fan of the, the party rock music, I guess you can find some enjoyment in that for sure then, for sure. Next up, we've got Daft Punk Music Volume 1, Greatest Hits compilation. Pretty cool, amazing. And coming up next, we've got Black Eyed Peas, Monkey Business. Some pretty amazing tracks on here. This album is very strong. Next up, we've got Blockbuster by Busta Rhymes. For some reason, this is the only Busta Rhymes album I have on CD. And yeah, my thoughts are very mixed. There are a lot of tracks that absolutely slap on this thing, then a lot of tracks that are absolute dog shit, but still pretty cool to have on CD. Next up, we've got Daft Punk Alive 2007, my second favorite Daft Punk project after Discovery, and my favorite live album of all time. Yeah, this thing is absolutely amazing. It's just so good. I really do wish I was there for the Alive concerts. Why is this not stacking up? There we go. It's kind of giving me OCD right there. Anyway, coming up next, we've got Eminem Slim Shady EP. Again, this is custom. I think it's a House of Wax release once again, still sealed and everything. This is what got Eminem recognized by Dr. Dre. This project in particular, really cool. Coming up next, we have What is Fig Kid? Fig Kid was basically the Eminem of Australia in the early 2000s. That's how he's described online, actually. He's very underground, not exactly well known, especially not internationally. And yeah, I do think that he's underrated. And I'm pretty sure he's still rapping to this day, but under a different name. You can look it up. But yeah, Fig Kid. He did actually have a song on here that was produced by Redfoo. There it is, it tells you. I Gotta Know, featuring Tech9 and Redfoo. So yeah, that is pretty cool. And that's how I found out about him, of course. Next up, we've got Eminem, the Slim Shady LP. I do love this album a lot and the whole cartoon vibe. This is the expanded edition, so you do get a disc 2 on this thing, which is pretty neat. Coming up next, we have David Guetta, Nothing But The Beat 2.0. So this is a later release of Nothing But The Beat. You've got a couple of the same tracks from the original here, a couple new tracks, a couple new edits. I'm not really sure what the point of this thing was, but I guess it was to, make some money, I suppose, and get some new songs out there. Still really cool. So yeah, next up we've got the original Crystal Castles, self-titled. This is super amazing, underrated music right here. Next up we've got Hyper Crush Mixtape Volume 1. Another very underground, very underrated electronic dance music group that has, this is actually more like, what genre do I put this in? Like crunkcore music, I guess you could label it. It's like hip hop, but at the same time, it's kind of mixes in all these old tracks. Very creative project. And I do have Mixtape Volume 2 as well, which is more on the EDM side of things. Yeah, I do really love these mixtapes a lot. They're super underrated. So yeah. Coming up next, we have Eminem, My Name Is, just a single in a jewel case because I lost the original insert. Coming up next, we have Kelvin Harris, I Created Disco. I kind of got this randomly. Yeah, just kind of ended up in my collection. Haven't listened to it a whole lot. Next up, we have Party Rock by LMFAO. LMFAO's best album by far. 100%. This album is so good. And no, I'm not trolling by saying that. I genuinely love this project. All the songs. And yeah, overall, just a much better project than Sorry for Party Rocking. This is their first, debut album, and it is absolutely amazing in my opinion. So, yeah. Next up, we've got a Pitbull Greatest Hits CD right here. Such a random thing to have once again. But yeah, Pitbull, absolute GOAT of the early 2010 sound. Coming up next, we have Cassie, the self-titled album that she put out. Another one of my favorite female artists, even though not much content in the discography. This is some sort of Japan CD. This thing came as part of it. I'm not sure why, but yeah, apparently this is some sort of Japanese release. But yeah, super cool, and I do like that project quite a lot. Next up, we've got Tribe Called Quest, People's Instinctive Travels and the Paths of Rhythm. Yeah, absolutely love this album. Again, 10 out of 10. A Tribe Called Quest has no bad albums, and they're all perfect, in my opinion. So yeah. Next up, we've got David Guetta, Nothing But The Beat 3.0. So this is a 3 CD collector's edition. There are so many versions of this thing, and I basically have all of them. The CDs, yes, but there's one vinyl I need to get, and then I'll have basically every freaking version of this album. But yeah, it's super cool. What can I say? Next up, we've got Daft Punk, Random Access Memories. Absolutely amazing. What can I say? This is peak music right here. Next up, we've got AC/DC, Back in Black. Yeah, really cool. I know, switching it up a little bit from the genres, but obviously pretty classic album right there. Next up, we've got Daft Punk, Human After All, the most underrated and overhated Daft Punk project for sure. I love this thing. I'll put you up there. And then next up, we have the Victorious soundtrack, the first volume actually, with a bunch of music from the show. Like, I know, another really random thing to have, but yeah. Next up, we have Clips, We Got It For Cheap, Volume 2. Yeah, super underrated. This whole mixtape series is amazing. And then we do also have Volume 1 over here. Praying that YouTube does not care about that cover, but yeah, so good, underrated. Definitely listen to We Got It For Cheap, Volume 1. It's so freaking good, man. So yeah, coming up next, we have Daft Punk, Random Access Memories, the deluxe 10th anniversary edition over here. Yeah, and they did milk the living shit out of this album, as they did also release a drumless version, and I also picked that up. So mostly because I wanted to listen to Within without the drums, even though it's kind of one of those tracks that's not really drum heavy already. I just needed that. So next up, we've got Deadmau5, for lack of a better name, or Deadmau5, however you want to pronounce the name. One of the best EDM artists out there for sure. And yeah, Strobe, obviously it's known as one of the greatest dance EDM albums ever made. So yeah. Next up, we've got this random compilation thing. It's just garbage, Clubland EDM bangers. And then we do have this 2010 annual. Yeah. And next up, we have Soul Intense, Eminem, with fucking Backstabber and Bitophobia 2-track. Custom. Obviously, this thing never came out on cassette. So yeah, next up, we have Vultures 1 by Kanye West. Overhated does have some amazing tracks on here. I have shared my thoughts on my channel before, so you can check out the video where I'm unboxing the vinyl and the CD. So yeah, another compilation, we've got EDM, electronic dance music, just this thing that kind of ended up in my collection. So yeah, next up, we've got A Tribe Called Quest, We Got It From Here. Amazing album. What can I say? Amazing album. The Tribe Called Quest is just amazing. I'm sorry for the glazing, but here's what it is. Next up, we've got Starboy by The Weeknd. Great album. It's always going to be my favorite Weeknd album, for sure. Next up, we've got The Standard, Black Eyed Peas, The Beginning album. So there's the first 12 tracks. And then next up, we've got 50 Cent, Get Rich or Die Tryin'. The best 50 project, for sure. And yeah, when he came out of the gates in 2003, that was absolutely amazing. One of the best debuts of all time. And finally, the last CD in my collection is Clips, Hell Hath No Fury. Yeah, another one of my favorite albums of all time. So, with that, that is actually my entire CD collection, all in one space. No idea how many there are exactly, but you can count for yourself. I'm not gonna bother. But yeah, as always, I do really appreciate you guys for watching. And as I did mention at the start of the video, check out all my videos on my channel. I do have a lot of in-depth videos of these products all over my channel. And you can check out my cassette and full vinyl collection videos as well, available on my channel. Yeah, let me know your favorite album that you saw in this video in the comments below, or just your favorite album of all time. My favorite album of all time is Dr. Dre 2001. My favorite artist is Daft Punk. So yeah, I think that was pretty evident in this video. But yeah, I really do appreciate you guys for watching. And yeah, definitely subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, all that good stuff helps me out. And by the way, here is where I store all of my CDs, well, at least most of them actually. And yeah, I know to some people that this might be a really small collection, to others it might be big, depending on the type of collector you are. But yeah, so far I'm pretty proud of it. And yeah, I do think I'm gonna have to eventually alphabetize this thing because it is gonna get a lot bigger. I do strongly suggest getting into this hobby because it is a lot more cost effective than collecting vinyl. If you can't afford vinyl or collecting it, I understand it is super expensive, but CDs are a great alternative, and honestly, I do think that they're gonna make a comeback eventually. Maybe this year, who knows? Probably not this year actually, but maybe one day, just like vinyl. Who would have thought? And yeah, other than that, I do store a couple of my CDs in this little gap here on my DVD shelf. And yeah, if you guys do want a DVD collection, let me know and I'll make that for you. If there's one person that cares, I promise I'll make it as quickly as possible. Even though that this is, you know, more of a hip-hop or, you know, just music-centered channel. But yeah, thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.